The man from a country that doesn't exist. Hello lovely YouTube family, welcome back to Global Chaser. In today's videos, we are going to talk about the man from a country that doesn't exist. But before we start, I want you to hit that red subscribe button so that you never miss out on any of our videos. Jim Lee is sitting in a corner by himself, minding his own. He's a little anonymous kind of fella. Too anonymous, according to social services, who have ruled that Lee is officially a non-person, or to be more accurate, he is unofficially a non-person because he doesn't exist. Lee has no documentation to prove who he is. He doesn't have a birth certificate. He doesn't have a national insurance number. He has never had a passport or a bank account. He has never been registered with a doctor, and he has never been on the electoral roll. There is nothing to prove he is who he says he is. 68-year-old Jim Lee from London. For years, it didn't matter. It never crossed his mind that he could be a non-person. He had managed to get through much of his childhood and all of his adult years working outside the system, earning just enough to see himself right. But then he reached his late 60s and discovered people weren't giving him work anymore, telling him that he was too old. He ran out of money, ran into trouble, and decided to visit a benefits office for the first time in his life. And that's when everything went wrong. We meet at Deptford's 999 Club, a drop-in center in southeast London. Over the past few months, it's been Lee's refuge. It is here where he comes in the morning for a bit of a chat and tea and toast. And it is here where the management has been trying to help him sort his life into sufficient order to enable him to qualify for a pension and housing benefits. He says he doesn't have many memories of his childhood. His parents were travelers and he was born in a field in Kent. He never knew his father, and he remembers his mother saying she didn't want anything to do with him when he was about 4 years old. He has no picture of her, literal or mental, and does not resent her. In fact, he says he understands perfectly well how she felt. He has always been a loner himself and has lived a life free of baggage. His childhood blurs? No, he didn't go to school. Yes, he did live by himself. When he left his mother, no adults didn't take him in. But yes, somehow he could make ends meet. He's not sure how, but he did. I learned to poach rabbits and fish and cook for myself. He reckons he must have been about 12 when he started to work the markets in southeast London. Does he wish he had gone to school? No, not really. By the time I was working the markets, I didn't care about other kids. Well, actually, he says if he could have had his time over again, there are things he would go differently. I'd make sure I had ID. Everybody's got ID, but I haven't, and I can't puzzle that out. He says he never went long without work, and employers didn't ask for information he couldn't provide. I worked the markets, the buildings, the fairs, the circuses, mainly doing building work. He is proud that he has never been on the dole. He traveled all over the country working, and there was Norwich in the 50s, and then in the early 60s I was up in Liverpool building. Then he went to Glasgow, only for 2 weeks. I didn't think much of it. Then I went to Devon and Cornwall. Very nice, especially when the weather was good. He has lived in pubs, barns, and boarding houses, and for 15, maybe 20 years, he was on the streets. He says it wasn't as simple as not being able to afford accommodation. It was the unpredictability of his financial situation. 1 week I had money, the next I didn't. I couldn't turn around and say I'll get digs because I never knew what would be happening the next week. Until recently, Lee has never needed to provide the proof of who he is. He didn't want to travel abroad, so there was no need for a passport. He didn't get in trouble with the police. He didn't drive. I have a nice little bus pass which costs €9.50, but all you need is a photo. You give them your photo and they take your money, and that is it. Lee says he has never had close friends. Has he had girlfriends? No. Never? Well, I had girlfriends like 2 weeks, 3 weeks, a month, and then they went their way and I went my way. Did he never feel like settling down with somebody? Nah, I've always been a loner. I didn't want to be stuck with something I couldn't handle. It's like debts. Some married people get in debt and they can't get out of it. But I didn't want that. I want to be myself and to look after myself. So I had enough money and I didn't go into debt. I was terrified of debt. And that's all for today, folks. I hope you liked the video. If you did, make sure to hit that like button and subscribe to the channel so that you never miss any amazing videos from us.